What's up guys, Harvick99 here, back with another video. Welcome to part 3 of rating every 2024 Darlington Throwback. In this video, we're going to be rating the Cup Series throwbacks. The Truck and Xfinity Series had some really great looking throwback schemes. Let's see if the Cup Series throwbacks are just as good. Without further ado, let's get into it. First up, we have Ross Chastain's throwback. It's a corporate throwback. A throwback to the old Busch Light can design. Busch always seems to do a corporate throwback. You all know how I feel about corporate throwbacks. I give them a pass if they look really good. And yeah, this throwback's getting a pass because it looks really good. They did a great job replicating the can design on the paint scheme. It's a great looking throwback. 10 out of 10. Next up, we have Austin Dillon's throwback to Dale Earnhardt's Bass Pro Shops car that he ran in the 1998 Winston, I believe. That year might be wrong. Correct me in the comments. But, yeah. They did a really great job replicating the paint scheme. Tracker Boats is black, outlined in white, like the Goodwrench logo on Earnhardt's car. Although, one big nitpick I want to make is that the number is the wrong color. It's white. On the original car, it was black. That's really the only blemish on this throwback. It's great otherwise. 9 out of 10. Next up, we have Josh Berry's throwback to crew chief Rodney Childers. One thing I do like about this throwback is that in the middle of the Harrison's logo, they have the South Carolina crescent moon and palm tree, which is a really nice touch. What would have been nice was if they changed the number font to match the font on Rodney Childers' car. But that's just a minor nitpick, not really that big a deal. It's still a really great looking throwback. They did a great job recreating the paint scheme. 10 out of 10. Next up, we have Kyle Larson's throwback to Terry Labonte's iconic Kellogg's paint scheme. This was hands down the best throwback of the weekend. NASCAR fans have been yearning for this throwback. I believe it's only been done twice before, by Terry Labonte in the mid-2000s, and again by Terry Labonte in 2014 for his final ride. And while those were pretty great looking throwbacks, they just weren't what NASCAR fans were looking for. This, while it doesn't have the Kellogg sponsorship, it still does the original scheme justice. I love how they recreated the Kellogg's logo with the HendrickCars.com logo. It looks really great. Beautiful throwback. The best one of the weekend. 10 out of 10. Next up, we have Brad Keselowski's throwback to Castrol TMD's Toyota Supra GT. They did a great job replicating the paint scheme on this one. Although, the only real blemish on this throwback is the side numbers. They're chrome green. If only they could have made it, they could have made them black like on the original car. It's black on the roof. I don't know why they couldn't have done that on the sides. The chrome numbers look cool, but would it kill them to not run a chrome number for one race? This is still a great throwback though, even despite the side numbers. 9 out of 10. Next up, we have Corey LaJoie's throwback to his K&N days. They did a great job recreating the paint scheme, but the number and the stripe are the wrong color. On the original scheme, it's black outlined in red. At least the number is, and then the stripes are black. On the Throwback, it's sort of a purple-ish, I want to say. It's outlined in red, which is correct, but the stripe going down the top of the car is also that little purplish color, and well, the bigger stripe is a purplish color, and the smaller stripe is red. Although I think that may have to do with Razzle Dazzle, the sponsor. I don't think that was done on purpose. It may have to do with the sponsor, but it's still a really great throwback. 8 out of 10. Next up, we have Chase Elliott's throwback to Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s 2014 Daytona 500 win. This is a pretty good looking throwback, but it would have been nice if they stylized the Universe logo to look like the National Guard logo. And one thing that's bothering me is the hood, because it's just Universe one word across the hood. It just looks really bland. What I would have done is I would have put Uni up top and then First underneath it, and then have put the little American flag on there to make it look like the National Guard logo on the hood of the original paint scheme. It's a great throwback, don't get me wrong, but it's not perfect. 8 out of 10. Next up, we have Chase Briscoe's throwback to his family's sprint car racing team. Sprint car liveries are pretty hard to replicate on stock cars, so it was a pretty bold move by these guys to do a sprint car throwback. They did a pretty good job with it, though. One thing I would add is silver on the hood and the roof, because there's a little bit of silver up top on the wings of the sprint car. That would have added more to the throwback, because as is, it just looks like a carbon copy of Eric Almirola's throwback from last year. I understand that, like I said earlier, it's pretty hard to replicate a sprint car livery onto a stock car, but they could have done a better job with it. 6 out of 10. Next up, we have Kaz Grala's throwback to Parnelli Jones. I absolutely love when throwbacks are one-to-one. It satisfies my inner perfectionist. They got the paint scheme right, they got the number right, they got the number font right, and it's even on the same manufacturer. And it's got the colored rims as the cherry on top. It can't get better than this. 10 out of 10. Next up, we have Martin Truex Jr.'s throwback to his 2016 Southern 500 win, which, coincidentally enough, was also a throwback. A corporate throwback, but still a throwback nonetheless. It was a throwback commemorating, I believe, the 100th anniversary of auto owners. Which, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is the first double throwback in the history of Throwback Weekend. It's a throwback to a throwback. I don't know why they decided to throw back to his 2016 Southern 500 win, since it was only 8 years ago. I feel like that's a bit too recent for a throwback. They could have done his first Cup start, or they could have thrown back to one of his 2 Busch championships. Okay, so right now I'm working on editing the video, and I just realized that Martin Truex Jr. already did a throwback to his 2004 Busch championship back in 2019. And his 2004 and 2005 Busch cars look very similar to each other. So if he did his 2005 Busch championship, it would have been a pretty underwhelming throwback. But Truex locked up the championship with 1 race to go in the 2004 season at Darlington. And in that race, he ran a Wrangler Dale Earnhardt throwback. So they could have done a throwback to that. But I guess not. I mean, it still looks good, but they definitely had better options. 7 out of 10. Next up, we have Christopher Bell's throwback. This is honestly the worst throwback of the entire weekend. It's a corporate throwback commemorating the 100th anniversary of DeWalt. And it just looks like a normal primary scheme he'd run on a random Sunday. 5 out of 10. Next up, we have Harrison Burton's throwback to Leonard Wood. Wood Brothers Racing is the oldest team in the Cup Series, so they have a lot of options for throwbacks. And this is, I believe, probably the oldest car that they've thrown back to. I know a 1930s Ford Coupe when I see one. They did a great job with this throwback. 10 out of 10. Next up, we have William Byron's throwback to Jeff Gordon's DuPont car from 2009 to 2010. This throwback was met with major controversy because the gradient on the front was abysmal. It's red and then abruptly changes to orange before abruptly changing to yellow, which is not at all what the original scheme looked like. But that was just the render. On track, it had the correct gradient. But the back of the car is still inaccurate. It's all black. While on the original scheme, the deck lid was red and the back bumper was yellow. So I gotta dock off points for that. It's a great throwback, don't get me wrong, but it's not one-to-one. It's not accurate. At least not entirely. 8 out of 10. Next up, we have Michael McDowell's throwback. Another corporate throwback. This time to 1970s Long John Silver's, I believe. I like the pirate on there with the parrot on his shoulder. And the old Long John Silver's logo looks pretty good as well. Other than that, there's not really anything to write home about. 5 out of 10. Next up, we have Todd Gilliland's throwback to his late model. I believe his first late model win. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is a pretty good looking throwback. Better than the other Front Row Motorsports throwback. This looks really good. One thing that I do like about this throwback is if you zoom in on the number, it says DGR multiple times in tiny lettering. And also they have the red G next to the number, like on the original car. Really nice attention to detail there. They did a fantastic job with this throwback. 10 out of 10. Next up, we have Ryan Preece's throwback to his modified days. I like how on the throwback, the blue and orange stripes are more pronounced than on the late model. The stripes on the late model are really skinny, but on the throwback they're thicker and more pronounced. I like how that they did that. The Black United Rentals logo looks a little bit dull on this throwback. If only they'd made it blue like on the modified. And what also would have been nice is if they changed the number font to match the number fonts on the modified. But other than those minor nitpicks, it's a really great throwback. 8 out of 10. Next up, we have John Hunter Nemechek's throwback to Lee Petty. This is a pretty good looking throwback, don't get me wrong, but come on, Nemechek, 42. This was the perfect opportunity to do a Bell South throwback. You know, the car that Joe Nemechek earned his first career Cup win in. But I do understand that since it's the 75th anniversary of the Petty family and racing, that they did a throwback to a member of the Petty family. I can understand that, but come on, man. Missed opportunity. Maybe next year. Or maybe in the Southern 500, since some teams run throwbacks in both Darlington weekends. Pretty good looking throwback. It's 1-to-1, and It's a great way to honor Lee Petty. 10 out of 10. Next up, we have Eric Jones's throwback to Richard Petty. Two minor nitpicks I want to make is the shade of blue on this is off. It was a little bit darker on the Petty car, and it would have been nice to have blue rims like on the original car, but I guess they just didn't want to go through the hassle of that. One touch I do like is having Eric Jones's name above the number, because that's how it was back in those days. And I like how they have the 670 horsepower written on the hood, and I like how they have the number on the deck lid. This car feels very old school. 8 out of 10. Next up, we have Tyler Reddick's throwback to Tim Richmond. Really great looking throwback. But again, the Monster logo with the black background on the quarter panel. Why? Can't they just have the regular Monster M on there without the black background? Does that black background really need to be there? I said the same thing in the Xfinity throwback video with Riley Herbst's throwback. The Monster logo with the black background ruins every scheme that it's on. I just don't get it. Why do they feel the need to do that? Can't they just put the Monster M on there and call it a day? And that's not even the only complaint I have about this throwback. The stripes on the side above the number, they are inaccurate. They turn up on the roof rail when on the original scheme it's just straight across. Yeah, this throwback it's just not it. It's still a good rendition of this paint scheme, but they could have done a better job with it. 6 out of 10. Next up, we have Ricky Stenhouse Jr.'s throwback to Mark Martin's car that he ran in the 2004 Bud Shootout. JTG Daugherty Racing went from having the worst throwback of all time in 2021 to running no throwback in 2022 to straight up copying Ross Chastain's throwback last year to now finally having a great throwback this year in 2024. It's a really great looking throwback. The numbers are the right colors. They got the paint scheme right. They did a really great job replicating it. And it's even got the right sponsors, Oscar Mayer and Kraft. What more could you ask for in a throwback? 10 out of 10. Next up, we have Alex Bowman's throwback to Jimmy Johnson's 2002 Lowe's car that he ran in his rookie year. This throwback was already done by Jimmy Johnson himself in 2018 as a send-off for Lowe's in NASCAR. And I believe that the 2018 version is the superior throwback, simply because it still had the Lowe's sponsorship. The 2024 throwback is still a great rendition of this paint scheme. I just prefer the 2018 version. That's not really something wrong with this throwback, it's just a matter of preference. This throwback is still a 10 out of 10. Next up, we have Zane Smith's throwback to Dave Marcus. They did a great job replicating the paint scheme here. They got the number font right, they got the sponsor font right, and they even have the 358 CI on there, which I don't know what that means. Someone who's more educated than me can tell me in the comments. I get real old school NASCAR vibes from this. 10 out of 10. Next up, we have Carson Hocevar's throwback to nothing, really. It's just supposed to resemble a old school police car, which looks pretty good. One thing I do like is they got the red circle on the onboard camera to I guess represent the siren. That's a really nice touch. Pretty good looking throwback. Would have been nice if they actually threw back to something, but This still looks good. 6 out of 10. And for our final throwback, we have Daniel Suarez's throwback to Adrian Fernandez. Open wheel liveries are pretty difficult to replicate on stock cars, but they did a great job recreating the livery here. And I love how they have the old Quaker State logo on there. That's a really nice touch. One thing I would add to the throwback is make the spoiler red, because there's red on the rear wing. That's the only change I would make. Other than that, it's a really beautiful throwback. 10 out of 10. And with that, every 2024 Darlington throwback has been given its proper rating. What do you think? Do you think some of these should have been rated higher? Do you think some should have been rated lower? How would you rate these throwbacks? And what was your favorite throwback from 2024 Throwback Weekend? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to see more of me, be sure to follow all my socials, like my Twitter, my Instagram, and join my Discord server. Links to all those are in the description down below. Leave a like on the video, and subscribe to my channel for more motorsports content. Thank you all so much for watching. That's it from me.